Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Dubs, the Angry Black Conservative. I am your host, Dubs. I really appreciate all the feedback that I've been getting. If you guys could just, share these podcasts with people that you know. I'm looking for more feedback. I'm always looking to get better and trying to talk about topics that you want to talk about. Even if it's negative feedback, I take that into because feedback is a gift. That's why I always say thank you when someone gives you feedback. This is going to be a little bit of a short one. I know I went a little long last time, and I apologize for that because I'm trying to keep them short. I want to keep them so that you guys can listen to them, in a jiff, so to speak. So, this is one of those things I've been trying to stay away from. And the reason why I've been trying to stay away from it is because I think it's something that could be really used in a negative way, and I want to make sure that I say this in such a way that someone can't turn it into a negative. So the old there's the thanks for being a good the axiom is thanks for being a good German because the German soldiers were just following orders during the Holocaust and so forth during World War II. So I don't want that comparison to what I'm about to say, and that's why I put that out there right now. I think there's a time and a place to not follow orders, and there's many times in your life where somebody's going to give you that order. You know it's the wrong thing to do. You know it's going to be detrimental, and you're just not going to follow it. And there's positive and negative impacts and consequences when you do that. And I'm hoping that when that does happen, that you have the correct wisdom based on experiences to make that decision. However, there are times where you just got to put your head down and follow orders, and that's all there is to it. And I'm hoping that what I'm about to say to you is taken in that vein because I'm tired of reading about people who are killed by police officers, and then people come out and they blame the police officers. So here's the deal. Obviously, I'm a black man. Obviously, I live in America. And there's a distinct possibility that I've probably been pulled over by the police, especially in my youth when I was an unsavory youth, as I like to call it, and I was doing something stupid, and I should have been pulled over. Have I ever been pulled over when I should not have been pulled over? I think so. I don't know what's in that officer's head. I don't know what's in his heart. So I can't make that determination. There's one situation that I was pulled over where I definitely wasn't doing anything wrong. And the officer said the reason why he was pulling me over was because it looked like I was going too fast. So I know that situation. I've been in that situation. So here's the point. If you are someone who is in an interaction with a police officer, it is incumbent upon you to follow the orders of that police officer. That's it. The reason why is because you have no idea what has been going on around that police officer that day. So even if you are completely in the right and you know that you are doing nothing wrong, you have no idea if that police officer is responding to a call where the person who they're looking for matches your description, or the person that you're looking for is in the same kind of vehicle that you're driving, or they're just trying to shut the area down because they're looking for some devil worshipping mofo who's running around killing people or hurting people. You have no clue. So the best option for you at that moment is to listen to the police officer, follow his orders to the letter. Then, if you still don't agree with what's going on, you call the police department, you make a complaint, or if they've given you tickets and you got to go to court, then you go to court, you let it shake out in court. This whole idea where people say, no, I'm not going to follow the policeman's orders. No, I'm not going to do it. He doesn't have the right to do this. He doesn't have the right to do that. You are the person in that interaction who does not have the gun. You are the person in that interaction who does not have the ability to just call for backup. You are in a losing proposition in that interaction. it is best for you to shut up, put your ego in your back pocket, and follow that police officer's orders. It's just that simple. This last episode, and that's what I call it. It's an episode because it's an ongoing show. And the problem is with this show, people are getting hurt, people are getting killed. And there's a common thread among them. You take Jacob Black. He's been previously arrested and charged with domestic battery, sexual this, and blah, blah, blah. He has open warrants for the same type of thing. The police are called to this area. They are telling him to stop moving. They're telling him to stop doing this, stop doing that. He takes it upon himself. I'm not going to listen to you. For whatever reason, whatever's going through his head, he says, I'm not listening. That's essentially what he says, because your actions speak louder than words. They have their guns drawn on him. And he says, the heck with y'all, I'm going to go do what I want to do. And what he wants to do at that point is to walk away from them, go to his vehicle, pull open the door, and reach in. I don't care if he was reaching for a bottle of water. I don't care if he was reaching for a bazooka. In that situation, the officers are now in a position where they've got to defend their lives. They have no idea what that person is going to pull out. All they know is they've got a violent offender who's got warrants, who is not listening to them, who is not afraid of them, and who is reaching into his van. They have to make the assumption that he's reaching into his van for a weapon of some kind. Those officers acted accordingly. And if my friends were the police officers, or if my family were the police officers, I want them to empty out their magazine into that dude because I want them to come home at the end of the day. It's just that simple. I did a whole piece on Rayshard Brooks, the same thing. He didn't follow the orders of the police officers. He beat them up. He took their weapon. He ran away. He pointed the weapon at them. He did not follow instructions. Now he's gone. I encourage you, not because I'm a macabre individual, I encourage you, however, for your own knowledge, take a look at the full body cam footage that was not released in the United States. It was released to the BBC. It was released overseas, and then it came to the United States. But the full body cam footage of George Floyd, same deal. If he had just followed their instructions, get in the car, George Floyd. He didn't get in the car. And then, boom, bad things happening. I'm not excusing what happened with Cheval putting his knee on his neck and killing him, because that is murder. He should be put in jail. There's no arguing that. What I'm saying, however, is we keep having these situations that are blown out of proportion around this country, where policemen are evil. We've got to go and fight against the police. You see a policeman and he's arresting a fellow black man or a fellow black woman, you need to go over there and you need to get involved and you need to. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What do you think is going to be the end result? When is the last time that you were watching a sports event, football, baseball, basketball, I don't care, where a referee made a call on a player, the player argues the call, and then the referee looks up and scratches his chin and says, you know what? You make a cogent argument. I'm going to reverse my call. You're absolutely correct. All right, play ball. No, it doesn't happen. It does not happen. Same thing happened. Freddie Gray, all those guys. They're just it's this constant combative structure that's being built by these supposed black leaders when they tell our people to fight the police, do not comply. And what does that get us? It gets us more and more stories in the news about how this black man has now been shot and he's paralyzed, which is what's going on with Jacob Black, or this black man has been shot and he was killed by the police officers, and the police officers committed murder, and that's why the police officers are evil, and that's why we've got to go after the police officers, and that's why they're the enemy, And that's why we've got to defund them. And that's why we've got to get rid of them. Go to those neighborhoods and tell me what happens when the police officers pull back. Numbers don't lie, people do. Look what's happening in New York. Look what's happened in Baltimore. Look what's happened in Los Angeles. Any place where you see police officers being pulled back from those communities, what happens to the crime in those communities? It goes through the roof. Now, you keep saying, well, we don't need the police, we can do it ourselves. Really? Because, again, numbers don't lie, people do. What's happening in those towns? Crime is going through the roof. Murder goes up, assault goes up, rape goes up, burglary goes up. Everything bad starts to go up. And then you got guys that are sitting there saying it's a good idea to get rid of the police. What happened in the CHOP zone or Chad, whatever you want to call it? What happened there? We can have our own community. We can take care of this ourselves. Oh, really? And what did they do? They put up borders. The first thing they did is they put up borders and walls. They kept people out and they kept people in. Well, that's interesting. I thought we didn't need walls. I thought we didn't need borders. But no, they did that. What's the other thing they did? They developed their own police force. Just because they didn't call it a police force doesn't mean it wasn't. But they had their own policing body to police that area. And what did those guys start doing? They started beating the snot out of the shop owners. They started extorting money out of them. And then you had a kingpin walking around. And I'm not even going to say his name because I'm disgusted with the whole situation. But this is what happens when you have lawlessness. And then you worry about guys like me who have our own weapons who say, if you come to my home to hurt my family, I'll cut you in half on the front yard. I'll get a cheesesteak and a 7-Up and I'll be fine. This is what's going to happen. We don't want that. We need the police. We need to comply with what they're asking us to do during that interaction. And if you can name for me the 3 times where you've had a black man who complied to everything that the police said for him to do, and then the police just said, nah, the heck with it, let's kill him, and started blasting that dude into oblivion, well, now we can have a conversation, because then that's murder. Those guys go to jail. But this other nonsense, no, I'm sorry, you can't do it. You cannot have people out there when they're in an interaction with a police officer doing anything they want to. You are endangering your life. You're endangering the police officer's life. It's just that simple. It is just that simple. And I cannot understand for the life of me, I cannot understand why this concept is so alien to those people. What do you think is going to be the end result if you start reaching around and grabbing for things while an officer is talking to you? The officer has been in that situation before where somebody's reaching around, they didn't do anything, and they got killed, or they got their partner killed. They need to go home as well. So you know what? They pull the trigger on you. It's just that simple. And I don't fault them for it. And here's my second half of that. I think that there is a clandestine effort by people in power to destroy the police so that they can seize more of their own power, so they can keep better control out of you and me. And here's my point on that. They pulled cops off the air. They pulled body cam off the air. They've pulled shows off the air that show police on the job policing. Why would they do that? If you really wanted to show people that police officers are good and that we've got a good society, you keep those shows on TV. And the reason why you keep those shows on TV is because it shows the average citizen who does not do ride-alongs, who does not know any police officers. You show the average citizen what those police officers have to go through on a daily basis. How much of that footage, when we watch it, changes the narrative? We had an unarmed black man who was gunned down by police officers. What was he doing? Well, he was black. Oh, well, that is terrible. Okay, let's string those police officers up. They've committed murder. Then the video footage comes out, and we're actually able to see exactly what happened. Oh, well, he wasn't following the officer. Well, the officers were trying to. Well, they were trying. Well, they were doing. Nah, yeah, your original narrative completely wrong. That's why that rush to judgment thing that certain people on certain political sides. That's why they get so ticked off about that when we say that. The reason why is they just want to go with the emotional response. Black man was killed. Let's get the cops. Oh, okay. Can we see what happened first? Oh, the officer pulled him up, pulled him over. The guy got out of the car. The officer was talking to him. While the officer was talking to him, the guy punched the officer in the face and started beating the officer. The officer had no choice at that point but to pull his service revolver or his sidearm and shoot the person. Well, he wasn't armed. He was beating the snot out of the police officer. He weighed 300 pounds. The police officer weighed 115 because it was a woman. Oh, yeah, she had every right to. Yeah, she had to defend herself. He weighed 160 pounds. He had to defend himself. Because when a police officer gets incapacitated, they get killed. All that guy had to do was not attack the police officer, stay in his car, take his ticket for not having a light on his license plate, and go home. No, he decided to assault a police officer. The police officer's life was in danger, and so the police officer shot and killed him. Done. And the thing is that if you're a weirdo like me, what you do is you go online and you go to all these blog sites and stuff, and all you do is you spend hours almost every day looking at police footage. I don't need narration. I don't need subtitles. I look at the raw footage, and I see what police officers have to go through. And what they go through is an absolute mess. You watch those videos and you see police officers on a daily basis doing what they do. There's 5 million hours of police footage. And the best you can come up with is some nitwit who's already been arrested for assault and sexual this, using fentanyl this, using methamphetamines this, fighting the police officer, beating the police officer, going for their gun, and every other example you can possibly think of. And then you say, well, the police officer acted irresponsibly because he didn't shoot him in the leg. I had news for you. When you are getting trained with a firearm, you're not training to shoot anybody in the leg. You're training to kill that person, because if you're drawing your sidearm, that's going to be a lot of times that's the end result. If you've got to pull that trigger, you're trying to put that person. This is not the movies. This isn't a script. This is a split-second issue. And in that split second, you've got to decide whether or not you're going to defend your life and the lives of your partners, or if you're going to basically allow that person to kill you and kill your partners. That's really what it comes down to. And it's a shame that these types of things continue to happen over stupid stuff. All Jacob had to do was stop and put his hands up. He'd be alive. All George Floyd had to do was get in the car. He'd be alive. All Rayshard Brooks had to do was let them cuff him and put him in the car. He'd be alive. I can keep going down the list. So then you said, okay, well, listen, here's the other thing. Let's do this. Let's not, we need the police, but they don't need as much money. Let's pull their funding. And I've said a lot of this stuff before on other podcasts, and I'll say it again. The people who say that are absolute morons, and I'd say it to their face, and I don't care who it is. The two things that happen when you pull funding from the police, the first thing they do is they have to get rid of their equipment. And the second thing that's going to go down is training time. And those are the two things that the police officers need the most of. They need constant training on different techniques, on what's going on and everything else, and they need equipment. If you're saying, well, they didn't have the body cam. Well, why didn't they have the body? Well, they didn't have any money in the budget. Well, that's just stupid. That's just stupid. Where else is the money in the budget going? Let's do this. Let's say if you got something in a policeman's budget that doesn't have an impact to what they do on the street, you take the money from that and you put it into body cams, you put it into equipment, you put it into training. Because that's what the police officers are doing most of the time. They're on the street. They're protecting people. That's all there is to it. And this whole sick, incestuous relationship between these, I can't even stomach it sometimes when we start saying black leaders. Can we just start saying leaders, people who are out there who are trying to make things a little bit better? And if they're not making things better, then what's going on? I know I did that full thing on Black Lives Matter, but from what I understand in my research, and if I'm wrong on this, please let me know. But so far, Black Lives Matter hasn't given the George Floyd family a dime. Haven't given them a dime. They've made millions of dollars in fundraising off of George Floyd's name. They haven't given them a dime. So I don't know. And again, if I'm wrong, I'll be the first one to apologize for it, and I'll admit the mistake, and I'll get better in my research. But I can't find anything that says it. But no, we needed to fund the police. We need to get rid of. We need to let these guys understand that they can do anything they want to do while they're talking to a police officer. And I'll say this as well. And I'll say this as well. One of my favorite pieces of footage to really listen to, or to really watch, pardon me, is the third person on. The idea of interfering with a police officer who is engaged with someone that he's trying to talk to or he's trying to cuff or whatever. What do you think the police officer's reaction is going to be if you attack him or her? Do you think that police officer is saying to themselves, oh, this other person, he just wants to make sure that I'm doing my job correctly? No, he's going to think, and rightfully so, that this third person on is going to hurt him. And you and I, in that same situation, we would think the same thing. When you're dealing with somebody, when you're trying to cuff somebody, when you're trying to put them in the car, all of your focus has to be on that person. It has to be. So if you get somebody else coming in back of the police officer yelling and screaming and cursing and blah, 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 you have that nonsense happening. Do you think that you're escalating the situation or de-escalating the situation? Do you think that you're making that officer feel more comfortable? Or do you think that you're making that officer feel uncomfortable? And we want the police officer to feel comfortable in those situations. Because bad things happen when someone who has a gun is made to feel uncomfortable. So you want to help people out? You want to get us to stop having these kinds of things or minimize, because you can't stop at 100%. There's always going to be some meatball out there. There's going to be a meatball cop. There's going to be a meatball citizen. It's always going to happen. Unfortunately, the world is filled with stupid people. But if you want to minimize this as much as possible, then you need to tell these young brothers or old brothers, you need to tell them, listen, you when the officer is telling you to do something, shut up and listen. Take the ticket. Take the ticket. We'll shake the rest out in court. We'll take care of that in court. Well, he's disrespecting me. That's fantastic. Take the ticket, go to court. Just that simple. Anything else is stupidity, and anything else is going to make it escalate into a possible life and death situation. And most of the time, the officer is going to win. It's just that simple. This isn't about disrespect. This isn't about ego. This is about there's somebody called the officer. The officer is responding to something. If you can find me the footage where police officers just got into a paddy wagon, drove into a neighborhood, and just started lassoing black men and throwing them in the paddy wagon, okay, now we can have a conversation about that. But until you can show me that, I just don't believe you. Because all these cases, all these national cases where we can name the guys and we can talk about that stuff and everything, what's the common thread through all of them? And the common thread through all of them is that the person in question did not comply. Shut up, listen to the police officer's orders, shake the rest out in court. So, thanks for listening. Thanks for playing along. I appreciate it. I'll be seeing you guys later. I will be doing a little something on the riots next. Hope you listen to that. And again, as I said earlier, share my stuff. I'm not in this for the money. I'm just trying to be that voice of a guy who cares, and hopefully we can start getting this thing turned around and making things a little bit better. Have a great day.